The world of Australian Riesling is diverse, but there are three key regions in the country that do really, really well with the grape. One is the Great Southern in Western Australia, one is Clare Valley in South Australia, and the other is the Eden Valley. So this is not the first Riesling video that I've done, and I wanted to really shine a spotlight on some of these wines and kind of expand a little bit of stylistic diversity within Clare Valley and Eden Valley, because I think that that's a really important part of what makes this grape so exciting to drink for us, the drinkers, the buyers, and the collectors. So let's dive right in. What we're looking at here, and something I really wanted to highlight, is the 2022 vintage. Last week I judged at the Clare Valley Wine Show in South Australia, and if there really was a seat, a saddle, a homeland of Riesling in Australia, it'd be Clare. And on one day, my panel and the other panel that was judging, we looked at 80 Rieslings from the 2022 vintage, which is crazy. There's a lot of wine. There's a lot of wines produced in 2022. But I can tell you that spread of producers highlighted the cohesion and the balance and the power and the majesty and the greatness of the 2022 vintage. So if we step back for a minute and look at it in the context of, say, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, the run up to 2022, and we see why it's so great. 2021 was cool and fine, and it was a break from 20 and 19, which had been warm, dry, drought years. So by the time 21 rolled around, producers in South Australia, so Clare and Eden, were pretty thrilled because yields were up, temperatures were down, there was gentle rainfall, the growing season, was even and fine. They produced brilliant wines in that year. So 2022, when that comes around, everyone's going, how's it going to be? Is it going to be dry and warm like 20, or is it going to be more of the same of 2021? And actually, it was more of the same of 2021, but it gave this kind of fruit power and this volume and density to the wines. And so the Rieslings from 22, from both Eden and Clare, but particularly Clare, had this gorgeous kind of generosity about them, but with laser beam acidity. Laser beam acidity. These things are tight, but so beautiful. So enough about 2022. These are all 2022 wines. Let's look at the wines themselves. So in glass number one, we've got the 2022 Henschke Julius Riesling from Eden Valley. And I had one of my subscribers make a comment and say, I'd really like for you to mention the alcohols as we go through the wine. So this is 12.5% alcohol. Low but rich as well. And what we get from Eden Valley, which we have in this wine, is rocks and minerals and spring flowers. And that's what Eden Valley does so well. The wines are kind of austere and tight, but they're beautiful and pristine and muscular in their own way. And this is that. So I've only got a tiny bit left. It's been a big tasting. This is really pure and fine. It's now been in the glass over an hour, and that's really allowed it to open up and kind of bog into its mineral straps. This thing is so pretty. When I first opened it, it was looking a lot tighter and a bit more phenolic, but with a bit of air. This thing has smoothed out. It's seamless. It's beautiful. This is now one of Eden Valley's great Rieslings. In the last number of years, Henschke have just absolutely stepped up their game, and this is a special wine. Moving into the second bottle, we know that labels don't matter, but this label is pretty rock star. I love it. This is a Pewsey Vale Riesling, and it's made in celebration of the 175th year, 1847, that vines were planted in the Pewsey Vale vineyard. And so they bottled 1,847 bottles of this wine. And in true Pewsey Vale style, this thing is delicious, but we know that they're age-worthy. It's a very special vineyard in the Eden Valley. The wines are routinely really good value for money, and they age, which is a really cool thing about Riesling. This is a softer, finer, plusher, more plump version of the Julius. And I think in terms of drinkability now, this thing has won it for me. It is delicious. It's $28 recommended retail in Australia, so I don't know how much that translates to elsewhere, but really impressive and delicious. And I wish to God they would make this labelling more frequent. I love it. I've never seen a Riesling label that I like more in Australia. Moving into the third wine. Now, we're now in Clare Valley, although Edenflo often makes wines from the Eden Valley. He's now doing a Clare Valley Riesling from Armagh. So this is a really important wine to have in this context because it gives us a bit of that stylistic diversity that I was talking about before. So this is all like wild yeast, no additions, bottled, unfined, unfiltered. It's not cloudy, it's clean, it's tight, it's matured on lees in old French oak. And for those that care, it's 11.1% alcohol, easily the lightest in alcohol across the board. But it sits really well with the richness and the open weave texture that the oak contributes. So this it does that thing that Clare does so well, which is generosity and volume and kind of pleasure. These are pleasurable Rieslings. If you want to drink pleasurable Riesling on release, you go to Clare. That's where they are. This is here in this glass. It's beautiful, it's flavoursome, it's chalky, there's cheesecloth, there's lemon rind, it's fleshy, it's really beautiful and it's delicious, and it fits nicely into this spectrum of flavours because in the fourth glass we've got Mount Horrocks. Now this is from Vale, it's 13% alcohol, it's the highest on the table by contrast to the lowest. And Steph Toole, the winemaker and owner of Mount Horrocks, certified organic biodynamic, and this wine is always one of the great Rieslings in Clare Valley. They're pristine, they're lively, they're energetic, they're age-worthy, they're classy. I mean, these are classy wines that she makes. They're really, really special. And this year is no exception. In fact, I would suggest this is one of the better wines. We looked, while I was in Clare Valley, we did this wonderful night where we looked at old Clare Valley Rieslings because, of course, the advent of the screw cap in Clare is something that they're very proud of, and as they should be, because we looked at many wines back to 2002, which is a great vintage in Clare. And the wines look so good for it. You know, they're tight. They've got that gorgeous kind of toasty character to them, but they're tight and they're fresh. And that's what Screw Cap does, because we looked at a few with oak bottled at the same time, because many producers are doing both, feed in one camp, feed in the other, in the early days, not now. And you can see this major difference, not just in the colour, but in the aromatics and the flavour. So this wine, bottled under Screw Cap in 2002, was one of the greats. It was beautiful and vibrant and full of flavour and exciting and delicious, and it's $40, and I think it's really good value. I love that wine. Steph Toole is whip crack smart. She's a really intelligent, wonderful person, and I think that people like that make wines like that, and this is like that. So, you know, I couldn't recommend it more highly. So moving into the fifth glass, this is Skillogalee. So this, you may not recognise this label. This is a new label for these guys, and this is their 2022 Riesling. And I brought this here because for me, this is the tightest and the finest and the most floral and the most talky of the wines on the table. And that's a really wonderful thing that Clare does well, 12.5% for those who want to know. This is all about kind of bath salts, talc, crushed limestone, spring florals. And in the mouth, it's just exactly like that. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a beautiful wine. And Skillogalee, I've often bought Skillogalee Riesling, I mean, for years, for more than a decade. And I've been loving them that whole time. And this is just that. I have a colleague and a friend in Perth, and she has got some really wonderful descriptors. She's been in the industry a long time. She's really highly respected. And she often talks about some Rieslings being like a shower for the mouth. And this is really showery and cleansing and fresh and kind of beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous wine. And then the final wine is the Kirrahill Regional Series 2022 Clare Valley Riesling. So this is 12.5% as well. So 12.5% for these four wines, 11.1 and 13. And the reason why I've included this wine as a counterpoint to these three is that it's got some nice texturing lees characters in the mouth. So where this is talky and fine and floral, this is vibrant, lively, flavoursome, and this is like chalky and textural. This wine here, this has got apples and limes, but it's got this beautiful kind of bedrock of fleshy texture in the wine, and it really kind of accentuates the Clare Valley attributes of volume and generosity, and just brings it into this lovely drink now approachability. So I love each of these wines for different reasons. If you love Riesling like I do, I'd really recommend that you try some of them. If you've got some recommendations of other Clare Valley Rieslings or Eden Valley Rieslings that you have discovered that you think I should try, please let me know. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do, because I've got so many great videos and great content coming up. It'd be a shame for you to miss it. So as ever, life is short, drink well.